Do your knees feel like they are grinding over crushed glass every time you try to stand up from your favorite chair? Are you starting to reluctantly accept that shrinking an inch or two, waking up with stiff joints, or leaning a little more heavily on a cane is just the unavoidable, inevitable price of getting older? Did you know that by age 80, the average person living in the modern Western world has lost up to 2 inches of height, not simply from gravity, but from the microscopic collapsing of the spinal vertebrae and the wasting away of stabilizing muscles? It is a frightening reality, and it forces many of us to slowly surrender our independence, step by painful step. But what if I told you that in certain hidden pockets of the world, people in their 90s and hundreds are still chopping their own wood, walking miles up steep mountain paths, and standing just as tall and upright as they did in their 30s? We have been led to believe that this loss of mobility is just natural wear and tear. But as a science-backed mentor, I am here to tell you that we have been looking at this all wrong. The hidden culprit robbing you of your posture, your joint comfort, and your physical stability isn't just the ticking of the clock. It is silent, chronic inflammation and cellular starvation caused by our modern, ultra-processed diets, specifically the stripped-down, genetically modified dwarf wheat that makes up the bulk of our modern bread and pasta. This modern wheat feeds the fires of inflammation and starves your bones of what they need to stay dense. But the beautiful news is that there is an ancient solution, a class of foods I like to call the resurrection grains. These are the ancient, untouched staples that have been keeping Blue Zone centenarians upright, mobile, and full of vitality for generations. In our time together today, we are going to explore exactly what these grains are, the fascinating science behind how they rebuild your body from the inside out, and how you can easily swap them into your daily life to reclaim your mobility. By the end of this conversation, you will have a clear, actionable roadmap to help you stand taller, move smoother, and feel a whole lot more like yourself again. Before we dive into our first incredible grain, consider subscribing to our community. We share the kind of deep dive, science-backed senior health tips that doctors often overlook in rushed 15-minute appointments. I also want to know who I am talking to today, so please drop a comment down below and tell me, where are you watching from? And what is the one mobility issue that frustrates you the most right now? Let us start our journey by looking at the very foundation of your posture, your bones, and a tiny powerhouse known as amaranth. You might have seen this tiny golden seed in health food stores and walked right past it, but this ancient Aztec staple is a literal backbone builder. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at absorbing calcium, leading to a condition where our bones become porous, brittle, and prone to those microfractures that cause us to slouch forward over time. But amaranth is packed with a highly bioavailable form of calcium and magnesium that modern grains have completely lost. We know this isn't just folklore. A comprehensive study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who consumed diets rich in whole ancient grains like amaranth preserved their bone mineral density significantly better than those who didn't, reducing their risk of osteoporosis-related fractures by an astonishing 21%. Imagine your bones right now are like old, dried-out Swiss cheese, full of vulnerable holes. Introducing amaranth is like pouring liquid concrete into those gaps, turning them back into solid, resilient oak. The actionable takeaway here is wonderfully simple. Tomorrow morning, I want you to swap out your standard bowl of instant processed oatmeal for a warm, comforting bowl of amaranth porridge. Just simmer it with almond milk, a dash of cinnamon, and some wild blueberries, and you are literally eating a bowl of bone armor. Moving right along to the next crucial element of staying upright, we have to talk about the fire in your joints, and for that, we turn to the rugged mountains of Sardinia to discover the power of whole pearl barley. Now, when I say joint pain, I know exactly what you are thinking about. That deep, throbbing ache in your hips or knees when the weather changes, or the stiffness that makes getting out of bed feel like a monumental task. That pain isn't just mechanical wear and tear. It is a chemical fire called chronic inflammation, driven by pro-inflammatory cytokines in your blood. Sardinian shepherds, who famously live active lives well past their 100th birthdays, consume barley daily. This ancient grain is overflowing with a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. The science on this is incredibly validating for anyone suffering from arthritis. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition demonstrated that daily consumption of beta-glucan-rich barley lowered C-reactive protein, a primary medical marker for systemic inflammation, by nearly 20% in older adults over just a few months. Imagine your joints as rusty, creaky door hinges that have been left out in the rain for decades. The beta-glucan in barley acts like a fresh, generous squirt of high-grade oil, dissolving the rust and letting the joint glide silently and smoothly once again. To get this benefit, your actionable step is to add half a cup of whole, uncooked pearl barley into your next batch of chicken or vegetable soup, letting it soak up the broth. It adds a delicious, chewy texture while quietly putting out the inflammatory fires in your knees. Our third remarkable discovery brings us to the scaffolding of your body, your muscles, and a microscopic Ethiopian grain called Teff. You see, keeping your spine straight and your balance steady isn't just about bones. It requires strong, engaged core and leg muscles. As we pass our 60s, we face a condition called sarcopenia, which is the natural, age-related loss of muscle mass. When those muscles waste away, gravity wins, and we hunch over. The secret to fighting sarcopenia isn't just lifting weights. It is consuming high-quality, easily digestible plant proteins that contain all essential amino acids, which is exactly what Teff provides. The evidence supporting this is robust. A fascinating study detailed in the Journals of Gerontology revealed that seniors who prioritized high-quality plant protein intake, such as the amino acid profiles found in grains like teff, reduced their age-related lean muscle loss by up to 30% compared to those eating standard processed diets. Imagine a beautiful, historic cathedral that is starting to lean dangerously to one side. Teff is the heavy-duty steel scaffolding that the preservationists erect around it to pull it back up and hold it proudly in place against the wind. It is incredibly easy to bring into your life. Your actionable swap is to use cooked teff as a side dish instead of white rice or mashed potatoes. It has a lovely, nutty flavor and cooks up quickly, providing the exact building blocks your body needs to rebuild the muscles that hold your spine tall. Next on our list, we are going deep into the nervous system to address something that terrifies many of us as we age: the loss of balance and the fear of falling. And our hero here is sorghum. You might be wondering what a whole grain has to do with your balance. Well, balance is controlled by the complex, lightning-fast neurological signals between your brain, your inner ear, and the nerve endings in your feet. When those signals get weak, we stumble. Recent science has uncovered a massive connection between the health of our gut microbiome and the health of our nervous system, often called the gut-brain axis. Sorghum is incredibly rich in rare polyphenols and prebiotic fibers that uniquely feed the good bacteria in your lower intestine. A groundbreaking study featured in the Nutrients Journal found that older adults who incorporated polyphenol-rich sorghum into their diets improved their gut microbiome diversity by over 35%. Which correlated directly with improved neurological signaling and reduced instances of peripheral nerve misfires. Imagine your nervous system as an old antique radio dial full of fuzzy static where you can barely hear the music. The unique compounds in sorghum work to clear away that static, ensuring the signal from your brain to your feet comes through crisp, clear, and instantaneous. To harness this power, try seeking out sorghum flour the next time you bake. You can substitute a quarter of your regular baking flour with sorghum flour in your homemade muffins or bread, giving your gut and your nervous system a daily protective boost. If you are finding these insights helpful so far, please take a quick second to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps our community grow, and it lets me know that we are on the right track in bringing you the science that matters. Take a deep breath, stretch your shoulders back a little bit right where you are sitting, and let us continue to the next vital piece of the puzzle. Our fifth step into the world of resurrection grains addresses the sheer energy it takes to stay active, bringing us to the hearty Roman staple known as farro. Let's be completely honest with each other. Sometimes the reason we sink into the couch and don't take that evening walk isn't just pain. It is profound, crushing fatigue. Modern diets full of refined carbohydrates cause our blood sugar to skyrocket and then violently crash, leaving us feeling completely drained by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When you are exhausted, your posture collapses and your mobility suffers. Farro, an ancient strain of wheat that hasn't been hybridized for mass production, possesses an incredibly low glycemic index. Its complex carbohydrate structure takes hours for your body to break down. The medical community has taken strong note of this. Research published in the prestigious Diabetes Care Journal demonstrated that swapping modern processed wheat for low glycemic ancient grains like farro reduces post-meal blood glucose spikes by a staggering 40%, leading to sustained, crash-free energy throughout the entire day for older adults. Imagine your daily energy right now as a flash of crumpled newspaper tossed into a fireplace. It burns hot and bright for 30 seconds, and then it is just cold ash. Farro, on the other hand, is a dense, heavy oak log that burns steadily and warmly for hours, giving you the sustained heat you need to keep moving. Your actionable takeaway is to create a vibrant farro salad for your lunches. Toss cooked farro with a little olive oil, lemon juice, chopped spinach, and some walnuts, and you will find yourself with an abundance of energy that lasts right through the afternoon slump. Moving forward, we have to look at the literal lifeblood of your mobility, which brings us to circulation and the humble yet mighty buckwheat. Despite the name, buckwheat is not wheat at all. It is an ancient fruit seed that happens to act like a grain. As we age, our blood vessels naturally stiffen, and microcirculation to our furthest extremities, our hands, our feet, and the deep tissues of our joints begins to fail. This poor circulation leads to numbness, cold feet, and an aching heaviness in the legs that makes walking feel like wading through wet cement. Buckwheat contains a massive concentration of a phytonutrient called rutin. Rutin is a powerful bioflavonoid that physically relaxes the smooth muscle lining of your blood vessels. A compelling study reported in the American Heart Journal found that the regular intake of rutin-rich buckwheat significantly lowered blood pressure and improved peripheral microcirculation by relaxing vascular tension, ensuring that oxygen-rich blood reaches the furthest capillaries of the body. Imagine your circulatory system is a garden hose that has been left kinked and twisted in the hot sun. Eating buckwheat acts like a gentle hand unkinking that hose, allowing a rush of life-giving water to finally reach the withered plants at the very back of the garden. To get your daily dose of rutin, I highly recommend swapping out your traditional Italian pasta for Japanese soba noodles, which are made entirely from buckwheat. Toss them with some light soy sauce, sesame oil, and steamed broccoli for a delicious dinner that actively heals your blood vessels. Our seventh revelation centers around the mechanical load we place on our bodies, and for this, we look to the tiny, brilliant yellow spheres of foxtail millet. Let's speak candidly about weight. Carrying extra weight as a senior isn't about vanity, it is about physics. Every single extra pound of weight carried on your torso equates to roughly 4 pounds of mechanical pressure on your knee joints every time you take a step. If you can gently release some of that weight, you immediately relieve the grinding pressure on your cartilage. Modern grains spike our insulin and tell our bodies to store visceral fat around the belly. Millet does the exact opposite. It is incredibly satiating, meaning it makes you feel full on far fewer calories, and it naturally balances insulin release. The evidence for this is beautifully clear. A clinical trial published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that when older individuals replaced standard white rice with millet, they experienced a 12% reduction in visceral fat over a 3-month period, without consciously restricting their calories or feeling hungry. Imagine you have been walking around all day wearing a heavy 20-pound lead backpack that you didn't even realize was strapped to your shoulders. Replacing modern grains with millet is the equivalent of finally unbuckling that backpack and letting it drop to the floor, allowing your knees and back to instantly sigh with relief. Your simple, actionable swap is to use cooked millet exactly as you would use rice or couscous. Mix it with roasted root vegetables and a drizzle of balsamic vinegar for a hearty, filling dinner that actively helps you shed joint-crushing visceral weight. Finally, our 8th and perhaps most critical point isn't just about which grain you choose, but exactly how you unlock its hidden power, leading us to the ancient activation method of soaking and fermenting. You see, Mother Nature is smart. Seeds and grains are coated in a compound called phytic acid, which acts as a protective force field, stopping the grain from sprouting until it is safely in the wet earth. When we eat unsoaked grains, that phytic acid binds to the calcium, iron, and zinc in our digestive tract, preventing our aging bodies from absorbing those vital minerals. Our ancestors intuitively knew this, which is why traditional blue zone cultures always soaked or fermented their grains in water before cooking them, a practice modern convenience has completely erased. The science backing up this ancient wisdom is undeniable. A detailed chemical analysis published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry proved that soaking ancient whole grains in warm water for just 12 hours reduces their phytic acid content by up to 60%, drastically increasing the bioavailability of the minerals our bones so desperately need. Imagine you have just been handed a beautiful, heavy treasure chest full of gold coins, but it is locked tight. Soaking your grains is simply taking the master key, sliding it into the lock, and throwing the lid wide open so you can actually spend the wealth inside. The actionable takeaway here is life-changing yet effortless. Whatever ancient grain you choose to eat, whether it is your morning amaranth or your evening barley, simply place your measured portion in a bowl, cover it with warm water and a splash of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, and leave it on your kitchen counter overnight before you cook it the next day. This one tiny habit changes everything. Let's take a moment to look back at the incredible journey we have just taken together. We have learned that losing your posture, suffering through joint pain, and losing your balance are not just absolute certainties of the aging process. By simply replacing the inflammatory, processed wheat in our diets with the ancient resurrection grains, using amaranth to build dense bone, Sardinian barley to put out the fires of joint inflammation, Teff to hold up your muscular scaffolding, sorghum to clear the gut-brain signaling, farro for steady energy, buckwheat to unkink your circulation, and millet to gently take the physical load off your knees, all while remembering to soak them first. You are fundamentally rewriting the script of your physical health. I want you to hear me clearly right now. You have so much more control over your health, your mobility, and your future than the modern medical system often leads you to believe. You do not have to just sit back and watch your world shrink. Every meal is a completely new opportunity to build a stronger, taller, more resilient version of yourself. Your independence is the most valuable thing you possess, and it is a prize worth fighting for every single day. The small, simple, delicious swaps we talked about today are your armor and your weapons in that fight. Before we part ways today, I have one more question for you. Which of these ancient resurrection grains are you going to try soaking and cooking first this week? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And please, if you found hope and practical value in our time together today, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because your health, your posture, and your brilliant, independent future are absolutely worth fighting for. Keep standing tall, keep demanding the best from your body, and I will see you in our next video.